Netflix, the world's largest streaming service with over 300 million paying subscribers, has announced that they're acquiring Warner Bros. Discovery, one of the most lucrative and prestigious film studios. Oh, and by the way, Warner Bros. Also owns HBO Max, which has 128 million paying subscribers. Yup, sounds an awful lot like everyone's favorite board game, and it may be the end of cinema as we know it. But hey, this is not a movie channel. We talk about business and finance on Peak Productions, so let's get into the numbers behind this potentially landmark acquisition. On December 5th, Netflix announced that they had agreed to buy Warner Bros. Discovery, which included HBO Max and HBO. Under the agreement, Warner Bros. Stockholders would receive $24.25 in cash and $4.50 in shares of Netflix stock for each share of Warner Bros. That they owned. This implied a valuation of $27.75 per share of Warner Bros. And an enterprise value of $82.7 billion. Enterprise value includes the total debt of a company, so when subtracting the roughly $10.7 billion of debt that Warner Bros. Carries, the equity value of the acquisition is $72 billion. Understandably, people were not exactly thrilled about this deal. Consumers immediately realized that this would give Netflix a massive edge in the industry, meaning that they could increase prices, just like they have been doing for years and years. The price of a Netflix subscription with no ads was $7.99 a decade ago. When adjusting for inflation, that number today would be $10.92. But, you guessed it, the basic Netflix subscription today isn't $10.92. No, it's actually $17.99. This isn't exactly the behavior of a company who is struggling to gain and retain users. It's the behavior of a company who is the juggernaut of the industry and realizes that they can pry as much money out of their users as they want. Possibly the only people more upset than the consumers are the HBO Max graphic design team, who started out with the original HBO Max logo, then did the rebrand to just Max, then rebranded back to HBO Max, and did all of that just to get acquired by Netflix.
I'm tired of this, Grandpa.
That's too damn bad!
Now, let's ask ourselves, what is stopping Netflix from raising prices substantially higher? The answer is their competitors, such as HBO Max, which Netflix just agreed to buy as part of the Warner Bros. Deal. HBO Max currently has 128 million subscribers, and while there's certainly a lot of overlap of subscribers between them and Netflix would still get a massive boost to its 300 million subscriber count if this acquisition gets regulation approval. Then, with an absurd amount of IP and content under its umbrella, Netflix would be free to hike prices even more. Eventually, there will just be one streaming platform that costs $250 per month, and we'll be back to where we started. But before we could give too much thought to this Netflix deal, Paramount swooped in and announced that they were launching a hostile bid for Warner Bros. Discovery in an attempt to beat out Netflix. Paramount's offer was an all-cash offer of $30 per share, meaning an enterprise value of $108.4 billion and an equity value of $77.9 billion. This was a higher offer than Netflix's offer, and the Ellison family, the owners of Paramount, wanted to let Warner Bros. And Netflix know that they did not like being disrespected. The reason Paramount and the Ellison family would have felt disrespected is because they had been negotiating with Warner Bros. About an acquisition for quite some time. However, simultaneously, Warner Bros. Was negotiating with Netflix in the shadows. And when Netflix announced their deal, it was the first time anyone at Paramount had even the slightest idea that Warner Bros. Had been negotiating with other companies.
What the fuck, y'all? God damn! God damn!
So, to recap, Netflix and Warner Bros. Had agreed on an acquisition. Then Paramount, infuriated that Warner Bros. Essentially went behind their back, offered a hostile bid for the company. In theory, no one knows who will end up winning this bidding war except for Warner Bros.
Well,
Except that's not actually the case, because there's a very, very important detail in the fine print of Paramount's hostile bid, which is the fact that Paramount's offer of $30 per share is in part financed not only by sovereign wealth funds of Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and the United Arab Emirates, but also by Affinity Partners, Jared Kushner's private equity fund. Jared Kushner is Trump's son-in-law, and these three countries collectively have billions of dollars in ongoing ventures involving the Trump family business. All of this comes as Trump announced that he would be involved in his administration's review of the Netflix deal. So yeah, it doesn't exactly take a genius to realize who will probably win the bidding war for Warner Bros. Make sure to like the video if you enjoyed, and don't forget to subscribe to stay up to date on all things business, finance, and technology.